All right, thanks. Let me share that presentation once again. So, all right. Now, definitely we should not go into the nitty-gritty of outsourcing of the work. We know that majority of the non-core activities have already been outsourced. And there are some new guidelines also. In fact, there is a monthly review of all the contracts, and this all contract must be converted into outcome-based contract. The old contracts which are based on manpower based. See, our majority of our contracts are already on outcome based. If you look at the mechanized coach cleaning contract, we pay per coach basis, not per man basis. Of course, the number of manpower has been prescribed at 0.65 per coach. That is only for the guideline, so they can complete the work within the prescribed time, and sufficient manpower is provided. That is the requirement. But some of you can help me out here. Anybody can comment, are we paying the cleaning of coaches by per coach basis or manpower basis? Anybody? I hope I am still audible.
Sir, manpower basis.
Achha. Okay.
Per
If
coach
you,
basis.
the-
Per coach basis.
ideally we should be. See, I have been in open line and in different division, and everywhere it was, but in SWR, by the way, whether it is Mysore division or it was Hubli division, it is basic rates are as per coach basis. But some of the divisions might have gone for manpower deployment basis. And even in our OBHS also, if you look, the actual contract in case of, you may be aware that one of the best managed contract was among these, the number of contracts or the area where outsourced activities are taking place, I have listed on your screen. Which is the best managed activity here? Anybody? It is easy. Come on. Well, which you perceive to be the best managed activity? Let me stop
What
the
is this, sir?
video. But we can still talk, but let us use the screen the maximum. What I was asking, what is perceived to be the best managed activity among these? Linen management, OBHS, crane, clean train, CTS, mechanized coach cleaning, right? Which do you think is the best managed activity?
Sir,
Sir,
I think almost
sir,
everything
this
is important only, sir.
No. Everything is important, all right. I'm
Yes, sir.
talking about, I'm asking about which is the best managed activity in your division. Best managed. You have least problem in that. Or you consider it to be, require least of your attention.
Cleaning contract of depot in our workshop.
Sir, a pest and rodent control.
Pest and rodent control is not okay. It may okay. Actually, I asked differently. I asked wrongly, which requires the least attention because we don't bother. It requires your attention.
Actually, I think
Okay.
we are less, maybe on the linen management, sir, maybe.
Where the passenger involvement is nil.
Absolutely right. Linen management has stabilized to a great extent, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Linen management has become really good. Now, why the linen management was given to mechanical department in the first place? It was long before even the ENHM wing was, conceptualized. It is one of the outsource activity which was handed over to us quite long back, and we are still smarting. See, the engineering department, they are the masters of all 10, basically works contract, right? Every, see, GCC is maintained by them, right? For works contract, of course. All the letters, all the procedure, everything we were believing on, we were, drawing from them. Even if it is, measurement book, the procedure that must be followed for recording in measurement book, everything we got it from the civil engineering department or engineering department, right? So linen management was one of the first activity which was handed over to the mechanical department, because the commercial department was not doing it with due diligence or with the required attention or with required panache. They were not doing it. There were a lot of problem. The young people among us may not be prior to that, but the old among us, we know that when we joined railway 25 years back, at that time linen management was one of the worst managed activity. The contractors were not providing correct linen. The torn bed sheets were being used. They were not being even washed. The contractor used to simply refold it and supply it again. Even the washing activity, if you look at the management, they were washing on the station and hanging it on the pipelines, that bed sheet to dry. That kind of things we have seen. We have seen, of course, the young among us would not have seen that. But since then, when it was handed over to mechanical department, it has come to be in a shape which is really well manageable. Now we cannot even think about a bed sheet is being reused. We cannot even think about a torn bed sheets being given to the passenger, right? That kind of thing. There are still some issues related to the condemnation of, say, for example, pillows. Within the before it becomes sagging, we must be able to condemn it. If you are going by the life cycle, then probably we are overutilizing it. We have to buy from the Khadi Gramodyog and those the organization from Khadi. So we are not getting very good quality that is long lasting and so on. The cleaning of blanket has remained an issue, and so on. So we are not talking about linen management contract. We are talking in general. So over the period, it has come to be in a shape that is that we can consider it as well managed. That is one. And if I ask you, which is the worst managed activity among the contracts which are listed here, outsourced activity? Anybody can care to hazard a guess? Should I say it this way? आप में से कोई अंदाजा लगाना चाहेंगे कि कौन सा जो है is the most out of control for us, most troublesome?
Sir, OBHS,
And who said that?
Abhinav Singla, sir.
Abhinav, all right. Abhinav, where are you, by the way?
Sir, I am posted in Station at Ludhiana, sir.
Okay, nice. You
Sir,
are right.
clean train station, sir.
No, clean train station is not that popular. It is not that widely implemented also, because there was a second thought about that, ki how many stations should be covered in that and so on. But in any case, OBHS, yes, Abhinav, you are right, and most of you may come to the same conclusion that OBHS is why, because you don't have direct supervision for that. There is a reason why OBHS can be considered as, because people go away from your depot, they travel in the train, there is no direct supervision, nobody is watching what they do and what they don't. Of course, there are certain guidelines on that, the leveraging of technology and snapping of photograph. They must snap the photograph of all the, the under the this wash basin, the toilet area, 3 times a day before cleaning and after cleaning, and then post that pictures and so on per coach. Then you got, almost the 18 or 16 to 18 coaches which are under OBHS, and you got what, dozens of train. When you actually look at the number of photographs that are leveraging tech, unless there is a AI, you cannot go about, going through some 3,000 or 4,000 photograph a day just to see which is good, which is bad, which is done properly, which is not done properly, and all that is not possible. So all those things considered, so okay, what I'm trying to draw attention to, we are still smarting out. It is not that we have become perfect in managing this outsourced activity. There are a lot of problems. The problems are known, and a standard bid document is just a generalized way of addressing those problems in a certain way. It addresses some other problems as well. Now coming back to the bidding document. Bidding document is nothing. It is just a tender document. Now everybody knows about tender document. Now I don't have the polling option here, but if I am to ask you, how many of you are already involved in managing these activities? Okay, let me ask you this way. How many among you are not managing these activities directly? Anybody? How many of you are not managing these activities directly? So I take it that all of you. Okay, Mr. M. Tandelu, you have raised hand. You want to ask anything?
It is just to confirm that we are not, I am also not engaged directly in that OBHS.
Okay, you are not engaged directly. Then what is your job responsibilities, may I ask?
Sir, I am looking after here store as well as work of ENHM also.
Stores
Yes,
and ENHM.
mostly stores, sir.
But if you are looking after ENHM, acha, mostly stores. All right. But which division is that?
Tinsukia, sir, enough railway.
Okay, all right, enough. But the ENHM has taken over all the contract management yet or not? Mr. Tandelu?
Pardon, sir?
No, I just asked. मैंने आपसे ये पूछा है कि
sir,
ENHM ने सारे outsourced activity they have taken over or not, or it still some is with ENHM?
Yes, sir. Sir, we have taken over almost all the OBHS, linen management, and mechanized coach cleaning. All is going very well over Tinsukia, sir. But it has been done by our another cell is there. So I am indirectly engaged in that, sir. Not directly, sir.
Basically, you are more on paper side.
Yes, sir.
Less on the on the ground, right? Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Right. I think Mohit Kumar raised hand, but let us go ahead with our discussion here. Now we will not discuss about GCC unless we have to touch upon some of the things which is kind of intertwined with issues in SBD. Now you may be aware already. I already told you that SBD was issued in 2017, right? And GCC in 2018. Now GCC came almost 6 months later than the SBD. So there are some obvious conflict. I wouldn't say conflict actually. Of course, we can use that word. We can say there is differences how the same issues are dealt in both of them. Like for example, provision of free water or electricity, or some concessions to contractor, and all those things. There are some differences in issues. So whenever you come across that, you have to remember that one thing, GCC is a rule and SBD is just a guideline. Let me repeat that again. SBD is just a guideline. The relevant sections are supposed to be used. And the sections which are not pertinent to you, which are not important to you, which are not being dealt with, you can simply discard in the SBD. Whereas GCC is like rule. You have to adhere to GCC in toto. So whenever you find there is some difference between how issues are dealt with, GCC rules supreme. Okay. Now, first of all, SBD is standard bid document, and at the risk of repeating myself, and again, it was issued in 2017. It's almost 5 years back. Now we know that. But even after 5 years, there are certain issues. There are certain difference of opinion. There are certain confusion about the issues which are in GCC and in SBD, and this is what this class is about. So why it was issued? Because if you look at your sister depot in the neighboring division, आप दूसरे division को देखिए, बाजू वाले railway को देखिए, then there was a time when these contracts they had different orientation. If you go to a contract of one division, you see that same, say for example, a very common work, for example, mechanized coach cleaning. How the mechanized coach cleaning is being dealt with, controlled, and supervised in one depot, in one division, could be very, very different from how it is being done in the another division. The difference is because of the contract. The contract is because of the bidding document. What are the conditions you put? What are the instructions you put for the contractor? What are the penalties you put in the bidding document? That becomes important, and that finally goes to the real performance of the contractor, and it is all different. We had different bidding document for similar type of activities, whether it is cleaning of depot, whether it is mechanized coach cleaning, whether it is linen management, etc. Now, if you look at the guidelines from the railway board, the pest and rodent control follows different paths. There are clear-cut guidelines for the pest and rodent control, right? The firms that needs to be selected, the competency that firms may have, certification that firms may have, how the contract is to be used, controlled, is or executed, is separately given. So if you look at the standard bid document, they never talk about pest and rodent control or the technical contract. Like for example, now LHB coaches are being maintained everywhere, and number of LHB coaches that are being maintained by you is going to be increased and increased and increased continually until there are no more ICF coaches. So our competency initially in LHB coaches were less, and therefore some of the maintenance activity was outsourced. That is, one of them was overhauling of air brake component. I think majority of your depots, wherever you are maintaining LHB coaches, has it been outsourced? Anybody? Yes, no?
No, sir, not majority.
So you are overhauling yourself.
Sir, yeah, we are overhauling ourselves.
And you have got all the test benches for that.
Yes, sir. We have test benches. I am from Jagadri workshop, sir, Northern Railway.
No, you are in workshop. Workshop is different. I'm talking about
Yes.
open line. Workshop,
Okay.
those are kingdoms here.
Right, sir. Sorry.
Right. Workshops are, a little kingdom unto themselves. I'm talking about open line. Anybody can comment from the open line. Are you overhauling your own air brake components, dump valves for LHB coaches? Yes, no? Anybody? Come on. Somehow people do ask less question. आप में से कोई भी बता सकते हैं? Okay, let us not dwell upon that. So these technical contracts also are not addressed in the SBD. Now coming again and again, we drive back to SBD. First of all, it was to standardize the tender document. It is an attempt towards standardizing the tender document. It is an attempt towards selecting good contractor. It is an attempt towards long-term deliverables. What I mean by that, normally we go by SOP, then we used to, outsource the activity for 2 years. Most of the outsourced activities were outsourced for 2 years. And every 2 years, you go through the same motion again. That means you have to again make an estimate, then go to the contract, go to the finance, get their concurrence, and so on. And there are cases where this tendering activity was not successful. So you have to retender it. And this tenders also is broken into a small part. Rather than giving a large contract for let's say coach cleaning activity, you have segmented. 10 trains under this contract, 12 trains under this contract, 5 trains under this contract. Even you have the same activity like mechanized coach cleaning. You had 3, 4 bigger depots, even 5 contracts for the same activity. Linen, another 5 contracts. Coach cleaning, 5 contract. Depot, station premises, office cleaning, another 3, 4 contract, and so on. So this number of contract became almost unmanageable. When I was a coaching depot officer in Bangalore, long back, I had 37 contracts, 1 officer, and ENHM was, not dreamt by that time. It was not, I'm sorry, wrong word. It was not conceptualized by that time. 37 contract, 1 officer, your daily involvement becomes, almost half day involvement just to manage this contractual activity. So first of all, the number of contracts, the number of activity, if you look at, it was quite, manageable, like mechanized coach cleaning, OBHS, technical contracts for this air brake component, 1 or 2 very small contract for transportation of bogies to workshop and back. Those were technical, of course. Mechanized coach cleaning for the locomotive, OBHS, and linen management, etc. So if these contracts were to be combined together, it would not be more than 5 or 6 contracts, which was broken in pieces in 37 contracts. So one of the objective of this SBD was to combine this contract and make them, more manageable, less number of contracts. And the one that I have already talked about, rather than entering into a contract for 2 years, I think somebody has taken a screen from me. Hold on a second. Okay. I was sharing this and suddenly it went, anyhow. So the tenders were to be invited for 4 years now. So actually you are, in effect, you are reducing the number of contracts by combining the small contracts into a larger contract. Second, you are increasing the contract period, right? Rather than 2 years, now it is 4 years. So altogether, it all goes to help you in managing the contracts. That is one. There are some certain advantages that were perceived. If you combine the contract, then all of these contract would be covered under the eligibility criteria. It will become large value contract, and therefore the eligibility criteria would kick in. So you would get once the eligibility criteria is part of the contract, you would get better contractors. At least it was perceived, it was planned that way. That doesn't always happen, because what has happened, the same contractor who are doing 10 lakh contract or 15 lakh rupees contract for 25 lakh rupees contract for so long, now they have become eligible, even if the eligibility criteria above 50 lakh is invoked. So in any case, but in any case, it is more manageable once it has got certain disadvantage also. Like the contractor is in a position to blackmail you now, because if the contractor runs away, and it is not like worse contract. The GCC talks about that. GCC for service contract talks about that. In case of works contract, if the building is halfway done, a bridge is halfway done, a boundary is not being constructed fully, and the contractor defaults, runs away, there may be a lot of inconvenience that you are put to, but the work could still be done. Your daily running of trains may not get affected. But in case of service contract, if your linen contractor defaults, runs away, your train services are likely to be impacted immediately. Your coach cleaning contractor runs away or defaults, then your services are likely to be affected immediately. So the service contracts are a special contract. There are some certain provisions towards that in the GCC as well as SBD also. So the combining of contract is disadvantageous in that way, because all the eggs are put in the same basket. And if the contractor defaults, all of your service contracts are immediately affected. You cannot afford the contractor to default, and contractor knows that. So this is a disadvantage as well. So these are the salient point: long-term deliverables, reduction in total number of contract, right? Proper monitoring, standardized bidding document, so the contractor can be enacted, executed, controlled in the same manner throughout the Indian Railway, right? And in case if you are going for more number of contract, you look at the last point, not more than 2 contract for stationary cleaning, station cleaning basically, right? And not more than 2 contracts for each depot. And if it is to be exempted, the permission should be taken from the DRM. Okay. Now it talks about leveraging of technology to serve the purpose of inspection, the use of camera, CCTV or the snapshots, right? GPS based biometric attendance, because particularly it is useful in case of OBHS. Now, in case of OBHS, GPS based biometric attendance is compulsory everywhere. It has become part of the tender document now, right? आप में से कोई बताएंगे, आपके पास अगर OBHS कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है जिसमें GPS बेस्ड बायोमेट्रिक अटेंडेंस जो है वो इंप्लीमेंट नहीं किए हैं, ऐसा कोई भी जगह है? मेरा ख्याल है हर जगह जो है ये बायोमेट्रिक अटेंडेंस हैज बिकम मस्ट, एंड इट शुड नॉट बी फोन बेस्ड, इट शुड बी हार्डवेयर बेस्ड. ये भी एक है. एनीबडी थोड़ा अच्छा, यू आर ऑल सी, I have done this work and you are doing it right now. So you can also help me out. You can contribute. आप में से सवाल पूछना है किसी को, immediately आप पूछ सकते हैं. Don't wait for me to ask कि मतलब anybody wants to ask a question. आपके पास कोई भी doubt है, any question you have, you can ask immediately once. Second, you all can share your experience. See, I am out of touch for quite long now. I am more on theory. Practical, आप लोग जो है, you are the boots on the ground. So आप लोग जरूर इसमें हेल्प कर सकते हैं. जीपीएस बेस्ड बायोमेट्रिक अटेंडेंस, इसका एक प्रॉब्लम भी है. अगर आप मोबाइल फोन वाला यूज कर रहे हैं, देर आर मोबाइल फोन बेस्ड बायोमेट्रिक अटेंडेंस सिस्टम आल्सो आर अवेलेबल. यू कैन वेरी वेल फेक द you can trick the application into believing that it is in some other place. You are going from, say for example, Bangalore to Delhi, and why it was done, because the people who travel in the train, they say for example they get down at Gwalior, and while the train is returning back, they board back again from the Gwalior. Who knows that? So therefore this attendance system was supposed to be GPS based. So whenever they make the attendance, it can be ascertained that where they are while making the attendance. If you are doing it on phone based or programmable device based, then this thing can be tricked. So there are hardware based biometric attendance mechanism that must be used. So any opinion on that? Any feedback on that? Anybody? कोई भी बोल सकते हैं भाई. आप फीडबैक के मामले में थोड़ा कम आवाजें आ रही हैं. The cleaning is to be certified by the supervisors. Now officer level test check is not necessary. अब ये आपको टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट में डालना है एक्चुअली. Now it is.
Sir, we have here,
हाँ जी.
sir, in Tinsukia division,
हाँ.
for OBHS, we have a GPS based attendance system, sir.
Okay.
इसमें क्या है कि जो EHK रहता है उसके मोबाइल में एक ऐप रहता है.
नहीं, that's what I am telling Mr. Tandelu. ये मैंने पहले भी बोला था. In mobile, there are programmable for testing the mobile, for testing the device or testing the GPS. You can fake the GPS location. आप बेंगलोर में बैठे हैं और आपका मोबाइल बताएगा आप दिल्ली में हैं. This can be done, right? So मोबाइल बेस्ड GPS बेस्ड बायोमेट्रिक अटेंडेंस आप यूज नहीं कीजिए तो अच्छा है. आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्टर इसको इस टाइप के ट्रिक यूज कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है, आई डोंट नो दैट. मतलब आई शुड नॉट लेवल चार्जेस in generalization.
Sir, we monitor regularly, sir, in the way of OBHS inspection onboard train, no? Our division depute some supervisor to inspect.
Okay, they go. That is one of the best way to manage OBHS. But there is
Yes,
a
sir.
problem.
We regularly do that, sir.
There is a problem that you have to keep some supervisors always, and once you have large number of trains running OBHS, then a large number of supervisors also are required.
So
Isn't it?
we have a very good
And it
monitoring
is
system over here, sir. Sir, we have a very good monitoring system over here. So every month we prepare one plan for OBHS inspection. So we almost engage all the supervisors in a routine base, sir.
Acha, they're not regularly, but on rotation basis.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is one way of addressing that. See, you cannot regularly have a supervisor in a train which is covered under OBHS. Reason is all the depots are already having a shortage of manpower and supervisor, right? Now this is perceptive. You may treat it as shortage or you may not, but the requirement of supervisor are in the maintenance side a lot. So if you spare the supervisor exclusively for the OBHS and they go days together on train, then it becomes problematic. So if you have good number of supervisors, lucky you. लेकिन आप में से कुछ लोग और भी इसके ऊपर कमेंट कर सकते हैं. अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ सुपरवाइजर्स इन सच नंबर्स that they can be afforded to go on train is quite restricted.
Sir, I think you took my point in the wrong way, sir. Actually, we chalk out one section, sir.
Acha, they go to
Supervisor-
certain section and then come back. They don't
Yeah,
go
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
way.
Not
Okay.
entire journey, sir.
Okay.
That will be quite difficult then, no,
It
sir?
will be really difficult. I thought you are very, very lucky to have that many number of. But anyway, I understood. But then again, then how do you ensure the quality beyond that section? How do you ensure the quality at the middle of your train's journey? This is the reason why OBHS is one of the least effective or the least effective managed contract, should I say. Okay, coming back to GPS based biometric attendance, the mobile based applications can be faked. Of course, if you have very good monitoring system, fine, I agree. But there are hardware based GPS system. In the future contracts, you can think about that. You can put it as a condition in the tender document itself. You don't have to buy, the contractor will have to buy this, right, to your specification. That you can think about. So once again, I am telling, the mobile based GPS based attendance mechanism can be tricked, but hardware based they cannot be. Now, cleaning is to be certified only at the supervisor's level. Officer level check is not necessary, but measurement book, some of the places accounts may still be insisting the measurement must be signed by the officer, and that is true. What you sign in the measurement book is to verify the things that are recorded in the measurement book. Test check is done on the ground, the real counting of linen, that kind of thing. So that test check at the officer level is not necessary. It says very clearly that only the supervisor level checks are enough. The surprise check can be done by the officer. There is no restriction. If you want to go and check, anything, it's all right. But it is not mandated. You don't have to write ki this much of test check has been done. You can say the measurement book is verified. That's all. It should be enough. The list of approved vendor for these are some of the very, very basic points. The list of approved vendor for housekeeping work, right? What is approved vendor? If your contractor defaults, then you have a list of approved vendor. They can be given the remaining work, the leftover work. With the same rates, right? So these are, it is in the lines of works contract where they have approved vendor. If one of the contractor defaults, rather than going for complete retendering, to tide over that meanwhile time period when you don't have any contractor, you can hand over the contract to among approved vendor, provided they are already approved, provided quality is ensured, provided that the rates are same. That is what the list of approved vendor is. Now GCC, we will just leave it at that. Now bid evaluation. There is one more doubt people ask a lot of time. There is a bid evaluation in the SBD which is mandated. Now, agar eligibility criteria is not in effect, that means the tender value is less than 50 lakh rupees. Then also you will go by that previous work experience, turnover, number of years in operation, and all those things. Yes, the technical eligibility is still in effect, right? In case of SBD, in case of service contract, the eligibility criteria that is based on that 35%. Anybody less than, say, initially that figure was 70%. Now I think it is reduced to 60%. Now bid evaluation. Anybody can comment on that? At least qualifying mark 70% was prescribed in the original bidding SBD. Now it is 60% as per the latest modification. So this give marks to the contractor, and at the end of this evaluation, if the contractor doesn't score 60% marks, then that bid cannot be accepted. So what are the things that make up for that 60%? Previous work experience, right? Turnover in last 3 years and current year, number of years in operation, and the size of workforce. All this is counted towards marking the technical eligibility, and minimum of 60% the mark is required. It is just to ensure that you are getting the good contractor, not that fly by night operators. I shouldn't be using that word, but there are some of the contractors that you can aptly describe as slimy characters. They try to cheat you, they try to cheat their own staff, they try to cheat the system, they try to cheat the railway and make the most profit for them. So that it is an attempt to avoid that kind of contractor. Now GCC is already being covered in separate class, so we will not discuss about GCC as I said, right? But one thing is very, very important. Earlier there used to be PG and SD both. You may be aware, if you are dealing with tender and contracts, then you may be aware that, and that limit is 10%. PG and SD both together should have been 10%. PG you have to furnish beforehand. Before the agreement is signed, PG has to be furnished before that. So 5% used to be the PG, performance guarantee. And the SD were supposed to be deducted from the on-account bills and added towards that whatever the percentage of SD that you have prescribed. Normally 5% PG and 5% SD of the total tender value or the contract value. Now the SD, rather than SD, everything is in PG now. So the 10% of the contract value in the form of PG, the contractor has to furnish. And some of you may be aware, because of the pandemic, that has been reduced. It is reduced to anybody?
3%, sir.
Yes, 3%. And it goes all the way up to 23. It was only up to, I think, 21, and then there was an extension, and then second extension. Now that 3% PG is going all the way up to 23, year 23. All right. So, but rather than that, we will just leave the GCC for its own class. Right. Legal obligation and statutes. Now, normally as a controlling officer, we all are very concerned about minimum wages act and the payment of wages act. If you actually look at it, these are the two things we are very concerned about. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? Not anything more than that. There are few other things. In fact, there are total 21 legal obligations. And we are actually not much aware about that. Even the contractor is not aware about that. Even the staff is not aware about that. The labor enforcement says, LEO says, there should be a board where all this obligation by the contractor has to be listed out, readable by all the staff. And the staff must be made aware. There should be classes, sessions to make them aware what are the legal obligation of the contractor and the principal employer. The contractor is employing them and railways are the principal employer. If the contractor fails to honor them, it is the job of the principal employer to honor them. Of course, we can deduct any expenses towards that from the on account billing of the contractor. So it is one of the requirement, of course, and it has been listed very elaborately in the Just give me 30 seconds only. I'll join back. I'm sorry about that. Something very, very urgent. Just give me 30 seconds. Okay, sorry for that interruption. See, we know that the railway has outsourced the activity to reduce the expenses of railway. If you regularly employ these people, then you will have to pay as per the railway wages, which is quite costly. Railway men are costly now. So we have outsourced the activity, so reduce the supervision work and the total cost of that engagement. Now further optimization in the same regard has been recommended through outcome based contract management. You may be aware, all of you may be aware that we cannot even write the manpower now, right? It has to be all work based. Now the fundamental changes needs to be done even in the SBD BOQ, the chapter number 7, that needs to be amended. Of course you can do yourself because SBD is just a guideline. So outcome based contract management, but doesn't matter it is outcome based or not. The staff which are employed must know about the legal obligations of contractor and what they are entitled for. So as I said, there are 21 of them. There are special sessions just to make people aware about these, right? We are supposed to conduct classes in our awareness session for the contractors staff. So some of these most important one I have listed here. Contract labor regulation and abolition, basically it is to a number of working hours and so on. Bandhua Mazdoor wala. Minimum Wages Act, of course, it is based on the guidelines of state and center. See, the state governments give minimum wages, prescribe minimum wages for that particular state, and the central government also prescribes it. So we have to go whichever is more. If you are in a state of, say, NCR region or a state of Karnataka for that matter, where the minimum wages are slightly on higher side, you will have to follow the law of the land wherever it is higher. If the central government prescribes is more, you have to go by that. If more than central government's guideline, if the state government has prescribed is higher, you have to go by that, right? Now, Payment of Wages Act, it is when the payment has to be actually made to the labor and so on. The Provident Fund, miscellaneous provision, LEA, basically it is for that, medical and other things. Workman Compensation Act, when they get, bodily harm to the contractor, what they are supposed to get back. Maternity benefit, the number of days that female employee should be given fully paid leave, right, under maternity benefit and so on. Sexual harassment of women at workplace, it is very, very important. Vishaka committee and all those things has to be, you must have these things working in your depot. As I said, there are 21 of them. You can always look up into, and we should be aware about that, right? Child labor. What is the minimum age of employment as per the Child Labor Act? Anybody can say what is the minimum age where a person can be gainfully employed by the country?
Age of 18.
It is not 18 actually. It is much less than that, and it is
14, sir.
15 years. All right, okay. It is given. So there are these things that we have to just be aware about that and follow this. Apprentices Act, contractor never employs apprentices. Of course, he can employ some of the new labor. He can just, there are ways legally he can do, pay them, the stipend, and still employ the people, get the job done also under the Apprentice Act. It is possible, right? And so on. So okay, let us go on
Sir,
to the yes,
sir,
बोलिए please. कौन बोल
how
रहे
to
थे?
ensure that payment of wages that it is either online bank transfer or do we need to maintain the register? What is the in terms of
There was a CDO's meeting in New Delhi long back. I attended that. It was one of the demand that was put forth. Ki matlab it should be part of the it should be part of our tender document itself that contractor must pay through using online means, right? But that was rejected. And still, even now, railways don't mandate it बाय डिफॉल्ट कि भाई आप ऑनलाइन पेमेंट नहीं करोगे तो आपका ऑफर ही एक्सेप्ट नहीं होगा. इट इज नॉट. But most of the depots, most of the tender documents now have started putting this as a local condition that that contractor must pay its staff through the online means because that can be monitored. And we also have this condition because these conditions are these are localized. You can add as special conditions. So there are conditions in the tender document now which says that contractor must be submitting the payment to his staff of the previous month along with the bills of this month. So जब इस महीने का ऑन अकाउंट बिल वो जमा कर रहा है तो पिछले महीने जो ऑनलाइन वो पे कर चुका है अपने स्टाफ को वो स्टेटमेंट भी उसके साथ सबमिट करेगा. दैट मस्ट बी वेरीफाइड as a condition for passing the bill of this month. So these conditions can be there. It can be part of tender document itself. So that way you can very well monitor. आप कुछ बोल रहे थे मिस्टर नरेंद्रन? आपका माइक्रोफोन ऑन है. Yeah, you can kindly keep your microphone off. You are not speaking. You can speak and then switch off. All of you are free to speak at any time. Please switch on, speak and switch off again. So this is one of the condition that majority of the tender documents are enclosing now. That online payment, the evidence of online payment of wages to the staff must be presented along with the bills of next month. तो अगर आप नहीं कर रहे हैं तो it is my recommendation आप लोग ऐड कर सकते हैं इसको.
so it is based on local requirements, sir. I mean, if we
नहीं लेकिन उसके बाद भी. हाँ जी कुछ बोल रहे थे प्रवीण.
say it is based on local requirement, like
Yeah, railways has not mandated it by rules. No, they have not. It was asked, but they did not agree. But you can always keep a local condition in one of the special condition in your tender document. Once the tender document approved, it is okay. It becomes condition now. It's part of bid now. So
सर यदि अब बैंक स्टेटमेंट लिया जाए.
pardon?
बैंक स्टेटमेंट लिया जाए सर.
Bank statement you cannot enforce it unless it is a part of your conditions of tender document and therefore it becomes part of your agreement. If it is not in your agreement, you cannot enforce it. You cannot legally enforce it. You can harass the contractor in unofficial way, that is different. I should not use the word harass. You can enforce this, but better to keep it one of the tender document condition. Why not? But see, if you actually look at it, even after that the contractor is cheating. I am told the people that he is employing, he keeps their ATM card with himself. So he pays from one side and withdraws some amount from the other side. It is an arrangement between the labor and the contractor. So it doesn't pay because it is not only minimum wages, it is minimum wages plus VDA. There is a VDA, right? Part of the minimum wage. And then there is a EDLI, and then there is a bonus item, and then there is, these are all legal. The contractor is, is required to make payment towards all of these things. Payment of overtime for that matter. All those things are enforceable. Now, if you enforce all these things, then contractor's outlay becomes little higher side, which he did not quote for, and therefore he starts to go in different way. सो अगर उसके बाद भी वो अपने वर्कर का एटीएम कार्ड लेकर के और वहां से विड्रॉ कर रहा है, एक तरफ से पे कर रहा है, दूसरी तरफ से विड्रॉ कर रहा है, तो ये हमारे कंट्रोल के बाहर हो जाता है. Of course, we would not like, see, we talk about all these social responsibility things. Railways have social responsibility, and this is the reason we don't rise the ticket prices of, say, passenger services, right? There is a slight increase in the ticket of the charges for passenger services. There is a lot of hue and cry how the people will travel and so on. But what about our own area under our noses? The area where we are supposed to work side by side with the contractor, and contractor is cheating his own employee, exploiting. Should it not be the part of our own social responsibility? It should be. So everything that is enforceable in our control, we must enforce it. But there is a limit to that. So that is about the legal obligations. All right. Let us talk about the SBD. And I will go chapter by chapter, and what is discussed there. You have any question, you can ask. Any question till now? That was just the introduction part and the general management of the contract, where the service contract, particularly not technical contracts, but actual service contract. Any question till now, please? Anybody?
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, in outcome-based contract, we are not specifying the manpower.
Yes.
But in tender evaluation, there is one clause where the size of workforce. How can we calculate the size of workforce, sir, when we is not specifying the manpower?
Manpower you are not specifying for a particular contract.
Yes, sir.
Just to see,
Sir.
the contractor has got workforce in his establishment, his in company, in his firm. You have to see the contractor is, he has got wherewithal to execute the contract. If you cannot even ascertain a person has got gainful employee that he will be using to execute the contract, what is the guarantee that he will not default, he will not run away, he will not bring some XYZ beggars को सड़क से इकट्ठा करके तो नहीं ले आ रहा है आपका contract execute. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes it really happens. So it is for ascertaining the capability of the contractor. Has got nothing to do with the number of people who are going to be employed in your organization. No, those are different things.
So,
आप ये देख रहे हैं उसकी कंपनी में आदमी है कि नहीं, वो कितने आपके पास लगाने वाला है, doesn't matter. वो अलग अलग चीजें हैं. So don't worry about that. The bidding will go.
सर वो टेक्निकल स्कोरिंग में हम लोग पॉइंट्स दे सके, जितना हम लोग के पास हम लोगों ने जितना बंदे मंगाए हैं उसके कंपैरेटिवली हम लोग स्कोर देते हैं. स्कोर का तो जब वो सब्जेक्टिव हो जाएगा.
That needs to be changed. That needs to be changed.
We have to change
now you cannot change the existing conditions of your contract which is under execution. अभी अगर आपका contract चल रहा है, आप you cannot change it now. It will continue to be on the same path. You have to change your BOQ. You have to change your BOQ in the next contract onwards. And now Railway Board is monitoring. There is a monthly statement that must be submitted to Railway Board. You may be aware कि how many contract जिसमें मैन पावर बेस्ड आपने स्पेसिफाई कर रखा है, वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कब खत्म होने वाला है, कितने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपके आउटकम बेस्ड है, कितने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन पावर बेस्ड है, वो सब आपको स्टेटमेंट हर महीने देना है ना अब तो. Yes or no? You are aware, or your headquarters is doing that? You are not aware?
Not aware, sir. Because I'm in production.
All right. If you want, I can share the link to that later. It is actually there is a letter from the Railway Board. ये मेरा ख्याल है they asked, I think in March or February they asked कि आपके कितने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हैं जिसमें the work content is manpower based and one content is outcome based. नंबर ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, टोटल वैल्यू, इस टाइप की चीजें जो है वो पूछी गई थी. अब एक नया गाइडलाइन आया हुआ है, उसके हिसाब से हर महीने आपको भेजना है कि कितने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपके रह गए हैं और कब खत्म होने वाले. See, you already, because everything that is in the agreement is legally enforceable. It is a agreement between two parties, right? You and the contractor. You cannot change it in midway. So you have to adhere by that. But once that contractor is that comes to conclusion, the new contract will have only outcome based. That's the requirement now. Okay. Any other question? We will break for say 10 minutes for tea and join back again to discuss bare bone, very basic sections of the SBD.
सर
Any
रेस्ट
question
का
you can ask? Yes, please.
सर रेस्ट का पेमेंट भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में होता है इसका कि नहीं होता है सर?
Pardon, क्या था? किसका पेमेंट?
जैसे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की जो लेबर है वो पूरे हफ्ते काम करती है, एक 7 आफ्टर 6 डे ही गेट द रेस्ट, तो वो
Yes.
रेस्ट का भी पेमेंट होता है कि नहीं होता है सर?
नहीं, first of all,
जी सर.
the number of hours. See, there are two ways. The number of hours are three ways actually. Mining अलग है, हमारा रेलवे का HOER अलग है. Then there is a Factories Act, right?
Okay.
The number of hours are prescribed there, and it
Okay.
is one of the act that we have to follow for the Factories Act actually for the execution of contract. Now, the number of hours it is limited there. Beyond that, it has to be overtime.
Okay.
There are this is legally enforceable. हो सकता है कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आपको क्या बोलते हैं, मतलब क्या बोले, गलत चीजें बोल करके, मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगा कि चीट कर रहा है, मतलब भाई व्हाई वी शुड बी, but it is legally enforceable. Anything that beyond that, contractor will have to pay overtime.
Okay.
Right?
नहीं सर,
And
I
उसमें
जी.
दिया हुआ है कि इतने घंटे काम के बाद इतना घंटा रेस्ट होना है हर वीक में, मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ आवर्स इतना है, इससे ज्यादा हुआ तो ओवर टाइम है, ओवर टाइम का रेट है, दैट हैज टू बी फॉलोड.
तो रेस्ट का पेमेंट आएगा या नहीं आएगा सर? जैसे उसने
वो
महीने भर
इट विल
काम
बिकम ओवर टाइम, इट विल बिकम ओवर टाइम एंड दैट नीड्स टू बी पेड बाय द कॉन्ट्रैक्टर. इवन हर दिन जो है 24 आवर्स में कितने घंटे वो एम्प्लॉय कर सकता है, उसका भी लिमिटेशन है.
नहीं सर,
अच्छा,
जैसे
आउटकम बेस्ड में सी
Sir, I
ज्यादा
want to add.
हम में से ज्यादातर
sir,
लोग ये सोच रहे हैं. अभी एक चीज और मैं क्लियर कर देता हूं. lot of us, and I am one of them in fact, if you ask me, कि आउटकम बेस्ड में एक्सप्लॉइटेशन और बढ़ जाएगा. वी नो दैट, isn't it? But outcome based combined with all the legal obligations, by rather than specifying manpower, even if you specify only the content and the quality and the amount of work, basically whatever measurement you have, along with the legal enforcement, तो वो आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का स्टाफ कब आया कब गया, उसका अगर अटेंडेंस और डिटेल्स है तो वो कितने घंटे एम्प्लॉयमेंट में रहा, वो सारी चीज़ें रिकॉर्डेड होती हैं. आप बायोमेट्रिक कर रखे हैं तो कब उसने अंगूठा लगाया वर्क में आने का, कब उसने अंगूठा लगाया जाने का, वो दोस्त थिंग्स अगर आप उसको अगर अपने 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 प्रोसीजर का हिस्सा बना देते हैं तो कितने घंटे वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट में रहा, दैट कैन बी प्रूव्ड. एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्टर विल हैव टू पे द वेजेस, एंड एनीथिंग बियॉन्ड दैट ही हैज टू पे ओवर टाइम. That can be enforced. थोड़ा हमारी तरफ से हमारे अपनी तरफ से little more involvement is required initially until the system is set. Once the system is set, you can be pretty free to let the system take care of the process. अगर उसके बाद भी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर चीट कर रहा है कि भाई वो अंगूठा लगा करके वो आदमी चला गया और उसके बाद वापस आके काम कर रहा है, तो there are some things we cannot control, right? But anything beyond the working hours, OT has to be paid. Anything the person is working on the rest day, those things will be counted under OT.
एक्चुअली मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ सर, जैसे उसने पूरे महीने काम किया है, उसे हफ्ते में वो महीने में 4 रेस्ट उसको मिले हैं,
मिलना है. यस.
हाँ, तो उसको 26 दिन का पेमेंट मिलेगा या फिर पूरे 30 दिन का
नहीं, पूरे महीने का. वो ऐसा नहीं है.
ओके सर.
मिनिमम में ऐसा ये इट इज नॉट ए कैजुअल लेबर, इट इज ए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबर.
ओके सर. ओके सर.
कैजुअल लेबर इज एक्चुअली यू ब्रिंग वन डे एंड आपने गड्ढा करवाया, उसको छोड़ दिया, दूसरे दिन वो कहीं और चला गया गड्ढा खोदने. दैट इज पर डे. The minimum wages are prescribed not only for the working day, for the rest day as well.
ओके सर. ओके सर.
It is to be calculated on monthly basis. It is not to be calculated on daily basis. That is very very क्या बोला जाए उसको certain.
ओके सर।
राइट जी। Any
सर
other
आई
question?
थिंक सर हम लोग सर ये जो मिनिमम वेजेस जो रहता है शायद से वो 30 डेज का ही कंसिडर करके
Yes,
ही
yes,
उन्होंने
yes.
calculate
30
किया
days का, not even 28, 29 days or 31 days or 30. It is counted for 30 days normally.
है।
For
पर सर हम लोग जब
example,
एस्टिमेट करते हैं सर हम लोग तो बस इतना एस्टिमेट करते हैं, हम लोग रेस्ट का हम लोग एस्टिमेट नहीं करते मैन पावर में, क्योंकि हम लोग को पता है कि रेस्ट तो देना ही देना है, क्योंकि वो जो
नहीं
रेट
देखिए
है वो
देखिए
30 डेज का है।
now
Minimum
आपका
wages is
हाँ,
already included this rest portion
नहीं
also.
अंडरस्टूड आपका शुभ नाम कौन बोल रहे थे?
Pavan.
हाँ पवन, तो सवाल आपने ही पूछा था। नहीं देखिए एस्टिमेट का सिस्टम अब हमको चेंज करना पड़ेगा। वी नाउ हैव टू स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन स्क्वायर मीटर, नंबर ऑफ कोचेस, लेकिन उसको उसमें काम करने के लिए आपको कहीं ना कहीं से तो मैन पावर वाला डालना पड़ेगा एटलीस्ट फॉर एस्टिमेटिंग पर्पस, फॉर अराइविंग एट ए कास्ट, राइट। नाउ उसमें आपको जो है वीकली रेस्ट हैज टू बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट। In fact, you can go by the same rule that railway follows. LRRG है ना हमारा।
LRRG तो होता है, लेकिन जब
हाँ, अब वो एस्टिमेट में फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ एस्टिमेट यू कैन काउंट LRRG। हो सकता है अकाउंट्स वाले जो है शुरू में एक दो बार उसमें अपना डाउट राइज करें, आप क्लेरिफिकेशन दीजिए, दे विल एक्सेप्ट। नाउ इट इज वर्क, इट इज आउटकम बेस्ड। तो जब आपका एक्चुअल एग्रीमेंट होगा उसमें देर विल नॉट बी एनी मैन पावर स्पेसिफिकेशन, बट आपका जो आप एस्टिमेट बना रहे हैं, एस्टिमेट तो आप फाइनेंस के लिए बना रहे हैं बेसिकली, टू अराइव एट ए कॉस्ट ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, राइट। आप उसके लिए एस्टिमेट बना रहे हैं, वहां पे मैन पावर आप लगाएंगे काउंट करने के लिए, तभी तो आपका एस्टिमेट बनेगा, नहीं तो कैसे बनेगा। तो से फॉर एग्जांपल आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि इस कोच में जो मैन पावर जो आपका कास्ट है, वो आपका कोच का कास्ट 400 रुपया है, 500 रुपया है, या जो भी है 580 रुपया। आई थिंक व्हाट इज द रनिंग गोइंग कास्ट राइट नाउ? आई थिंक 550 to 600 रुपीज, समथिंग लाइक दैट पर कोच। कितना है? एनीबडी मैकेनाइज्ड कोच के लिए? ओके, जो भी है चलिए, अगर आप में से कोई बोलना चाहे तो बोल सकते हैं। मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि हाउ हैव यू अराइव्ड एट 580 रुपीज पर कोच? बिकॉज इतना काम है, इतने घंटे का काम है, इतना आदमी लगना है, इतना केमिकल लगना है, इतना झाड़ू लगना है, इतना टूल लगना है, तो देन टोटल कितना कोच है, देन यू कम टू ए टोटल अमाउंट एंड देन यू डिवाइड बाय नंबर ऑफ कोचेस, देन यू कम एट समवेयर यू आर गोइंग टू कैलकुलेट दिस एस्टिमेट। नाउ उसके लिए तो मैन पावर लगा के आपको कैलकुलेट करना ही पड़ेगा, बिकॉज इट इज मैन पावर इंटेंसिव। बट once you go for tendering stage, then you have to specify कि इतना एरिया पर कोच है, पर कोच के अंदर इतना काम करना जरूरी है। आप वो स्पेसिफाई नहीं करेंगे कितना मैन पावर लगेगा, लेकिन पर कोच के कास्ट में अराइव करने के लिए आपको करना पड़ेगा, और उसमें जब आप मैन पावर लगा करके काउंट कर रहे हैं उसमें LRRG आपको रखना पड़ेगा फॉर एस्टिमेट पर्पज, फॉर अराइविंग एट ए कॉस्ट। भाई दे आर ऑल्सो एलिजिबल फॉर द लीव। जब वो छुट्टी जाएंगे तो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को लेबर लेकर के आना पड़ेगा, और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर लेबर लेके आएगा तो उनको पे भी करेगा, पे करेगा तो उसका खर्चा हो रहा है। दैट मनी ही हैज टू गेट फ्रॉम द रेलवे। इफ ही डजंट गेट दैट मनी फ्रॉम द रेलवे, विल नॉट पे हिज स्टाफ। इज एज सिंपल एज दैट। तो जब आप एस्टिमेट बना रहे हैं, जब आप यू आर अराइविंग एट ए कास्ट, व्हेन यू आर कैलकुलेटिंग योर वर्कशीट, then at that time all these things should be taken into account. Then only you can arrive at a effective cost. नहीं तो आपका कैलकुलेशन गलत हो जाएगा। ओके
सर, जब मैन पावर कैलकुलेट की जाती है तो एज पर द यार्ड स्टिक की जाती है, और उसी के अकॉर्डिंग उसमें LRRG जोड़ते हैं, पर अकाउंट तो उनकी ऑलरेडी आधी कर देता है जो यार्ड स्टिक CMD ऑफिस से मिली हुई है, या ऑलरेडी
यार्ड स्टिक तो हमारे अपने आपको शेड का, ओपन लाइन का, दूसरी चीजें हैं बेस। आप वर्क स्टडी पे बेस कर सकते हैं, आपके यहाँ जो काम होता है, और उसमें जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल 0.65 पर कोच जो दिया हुआ है मैन पावर, वी नो दैट इट इज लेस। इनफैक्ट 0.65 पर कोच में इंटीरियर क्लीनिंग, एक्सटीरियर क्लीनिंग, 4 टॉयलेट, बफर एंड दिस फॉल प्लेट अंडर गियर, ये आपका 0.65 में हो नहीं सकता। लेकिन फिर भी 0.65 तो मिनिमम है, आप तो वो लगाएंगे ही। तो 0.65 के हिसाब से आप कैलकुलेट कर लीजिए एस्टिमेट के लिए, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए नहीं, एस्टिमेट के लिए, कि भाई आपको कितना मैन पावर लगेगा पूरा रेक क्लीन करने के लिए, राइट। एंड उसके ऊपर आपको LRRG भी लगाना है, क्योंकि उतना तो आपको मिनिमम चाहिए, तो उसमें आप कर सकते हैं। और जहां पर प्रिस्क्राइब नहीं किया हुआ है मैन पावर, राइट, वहां पर आप से फॉर एग्जांपल ओबीएचएस में भी मैन पावर प्रिस्क्राइब किया हुआ है कि आपका EHK जो है वो कितना रहेगा, और आपका क्या बोलते हैं, जब लिनन मैनेजमेंट अगर ओबीएचएस के साथ कंबाइंड किया है तो कितना आदमी आपको लगाना है, अलग किया है तो कितना, वो है। तो वो एस्टिमेट में आप उसको अभी भी यूज कर सकते हैं, दैट विल नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ योर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कंडीशन, बट इन एस्टिमेट में अभी भी वो यूज होगा, और जब भी वो यूज होगा उसमें LRRG भी लगेगा। तो वो तो आपको अकाउंट्स वाले शुरू में तो आपको ऑब्जेक्ट करेंगे, लेकिन यू विल हैव टू सेटिस्फाई। सी अकाउंट्स वाले तो वो ओथ लेकर के आते हैं ना, हम लोग को जो ओथ दिलाते हैं, अकाउंट्स वाले को एक लाइन एक्स्ट्रा रहता है कि वो हर प्रपोजल कितनी बार वापस भेजेंगे। उनका अपना टारगेट है, कि उन्होंने रेलवे का इतना पैसा बचा लिया। उसके लिए आप उसका एक तरीका ये भी हो सकता है, अनऑफिशियली आप अकाउंट वाले से पहले बात कर लीजिए कि ये कंडीशन है, फिर मैं थोड़ा आप बढ़ा करके दीजिए, फिर अकाउंट के ऑब्जेक्शन के बाद आप जो है उसको थोड़ा कम कर दीजिए, वो भी खुश, आप भी खुश। ये होता है दैट नॉर्मली इफ यू गो, सी इफ यू आर गोइंग बाय रूल, एब्सोल्युटली राइट एवरी कैलकुलेशन, एंड आपने बहुत परफेक्ट फिगर अकाउंट को भेजा, वो लोग वापस भेजेंगे। वो तो चाहते हैं कि वो अपने बाद में अपने APAR में अपने टारगेट में लिखें कि उन लोगों ने रेलवे का इतना लाख रुपया, इतना करोड़ रुपया बचा लिया। तो वो लोग वहीं से लेकर के आते हैं कि भाई हमारे पास प्रपोजल्स आए थे, मतलब 400 करोड़ रुपए के, हमने जो प्रपोजल सैंक्शन वो कानकर किए हैं वो सिर्फ 340 करोड़ का, 60 करोड़ रुपया हमने रेलवे का बचा लिया। दिस इज देयर टारगेट्स। तो उसके लिए आप शुरू में जाके एक बार बात कर सकते हैं। एंड आई में भी सरप्राइज अगर आप लोग ये नहीं कर रहे हैं तो। आप में से कोई ये कर रहा है ऑलरेडी? भाई पहले जाइए अकाउंट्स के पास, बैठिए, एक चाय पीजिए वो DFM और सीनियर DFM के साथ, उसको बताइए कि ये है, हम लोग नया बना रहे हैं, दिस इज द रीजन, ये रूल्स है, वी हैव टू गो बाय ऑल दीस रूल्स, और हमारा प्रपोजल करीब करीब इतने का आने वाला है। और अगर आप लोग ऑब्जेक्शन करेंगे तो हम पहले से थोड़ा बढ़ा करके देंगे, आप लोग बाद में ऑब्जेक्ट करेंगे तो हम लोग कम कर देंगे। ये पहले से ये मतलब गेम फिक्सिंग बहुत दिन से चल रहा है। ये नहीं करते हैं क्या? एनीबडी कम ऑन।
करते हैं सर, करते हैं।
करते हैं। तो उसमें आप थोड़ा पहले बात कर लीजिए कि अब ये नया चेंज होना है, ये वर्क कंटेंट बेसिस है, वर्क हम लोग बढ़ा रहे हैं। आप ये भी बोल सकते हैं कि वी आर इंक्रीजिंग द क्वालिटी, ज्यादा आदमी लगेगा, तो देन यू सेंड इट एंड देन अकाउंट्स ऑब्जेक्ट्स इट, आप फिर उसको 20% कम कर दीजिए। नाउ यू कम बैक टू योर ओरिजिनल कैलकुलेशन बाय रिड्यूसिंग 20%, एंड देन वो अकाउंट भी हैप्पी, आप भी हैप्पी। अरे यार, हम लोग चाय के लिए वी विल ब्रेक फॉर द टी एंड देन वी कैन स्टिल हैव टी एंड स्टिल टॉक। विल इट बी ओके? विल जस्ट, हाँ जी बोलिए।
As you wish, sir.
ओके, तो वी विल हमारा तो टाइम ही खत्म, 11 बज जा रहा है भाई। हमारे ये बात करने में ही 10 मिनट निकल गया। तो शुड वी कंटिन्यू जस्ट कवर दिस सेक्शंस ऑफ SPD, or we break for at least 5 minutes?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay means what? I have got both the options.
We'll break for 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, we'll break for 5 minutes. So it is, say it is right now it is 10:50. Say
Sir.
10:55 we should join back. All right?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Right. So, all right, time over. So now let us talk about the basic sections of SBD and what goes in that. Now, it is a standard bid document. If you actually look at the bidding document, anybody who has not seen this letter, the actual bid document which has been issued by the railway board, anybody has not seen it? I am asking the other way around. I think it should be available in my, hold on, where is that? Anybody? Is available in my this tender and contract
Yes, sir.
directory. Anybody has not seen it?
Sir, seen, sir.
All have seen that, but still people are quite crazy about telling that kind of thing. Okay, let me. Now you can see this. I think I'm sharing this. Is it visible?
Sir.
If you look
Yes,
at
sir.
it, it talks about XYZ station of XYZ depot and so on. You see, a lot of things had been made in such a way that you can straight away drop the name of the division or name of the division in depot in the document itself, right? It is पहले से पका हुआ खिचड़ी टाइप का है ये basically. So you can straight away use this as it is. Of course, you'll have to change some of the things in that, but you can straight away use this. So if you go to, let us say, for example, NIT, the contract number blank space, right? You can fill up your own. ABC division, you can fill your own. PQR railway, you can fill your own. Address. So you see, there is a lot of things which is already formatted, right? You can see there is a lot of blank spaces here, which is already pre-formatted document. So why I am telling this? This document has already been, now let me share this, my original presentation, where is that? This document is already pre-formatted. Number one, you can use it as it is. Number two, all the clauses, all the paragraphs which are not pertaining to you, you have to remove it out. If it is not related to, say, anything is given that is related to OBHS, you are going for linen management, remove the OBHS. There is a monitoring where the linen management is part of that. You are not contracting out for linen management, then how linen management can be written there? So you can remove that. There is a percentage, you can equally distribute that. So you have to remove out the parts which are not usable, which are not relevant to you. But other than that, in its basic format, you can use straight away. So it has been issued like a standard bid document itself. And so is the name, right? Now, what are the sections in that? So ideally, if you look at your bidding document, what is the size of your tender document if you are going for, say, if you are going for any kind of tender, service tender, right? Anybody can say what is normally the page count of your average tender document? 50 pages, 60 pages, 100 page, 200 page. Anybody can care to state? आप में से कोई बोल सकते हैं कि हाँ मेरा टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट जो था 158 पेज का था? Anybody? I hope I have switched on my mic. All right, okay. I hope I am audible.
Audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, all right. So last tender document that you have seen, how many pages it was? Okay, 150 and 200 pages is quite common. But if you actually look at your tender document, you actually read through your tender document. अगर आप अपना tender document पढ़ें, तो उसमें देखिए पहला वाला पार्ट हमेशा NIT होता है, टॉप शीट जिसको बोलते हैं, जिसमें आपका एड्रेस दिया है, टेंडर का कास्ट कितना है, आपका टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट का कास्ट कितना है, आपका अर्नेस्ट मनी कितना है, क्लोजिंग डेट कब है, ओपनिंग डेट। अभी तो क्या है कि एक ही डेट है, क्लोजिंग डेट ओपनिंग डेट पहले अलग अलग होता था। देन प्री बिड कॉन्फ्रेंस चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए, प्री बिड कॉन्फ्रेंस का वेन्यू क्या है, डिस्क्रिप्शन, ये चीज़ें आपके टॉप शीट में होती हैं एनआईटी। कुछ एडिशनल आइटम भी होते हैं, लेकिन उसके नीचे अगर आप जाएंगे तो बाकी चीज़ें जो है थोड़ी सी वो मिक्स अप हो जाती हैं। Special conditions, they get mixed up with instruction to tenderer, and that what is your requirement, what are the monitoring part that gets, superimposed with special conditions. And more than 60% of your tender document is actually nothing but excerpts from GCC. अगर आप अपने टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट को ठीक सेंटर से खोल लीजिए, जितने पेजेस हैं हाफ से उसको खोल लीजिए, you are in GCC. उसमें whether it is force majeure or we will not provide any accommodation to the contractor और वो सारी चीज़ें उसमें कॉपी की होती हैं। GCC का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा उसमें कॉपी किया होता है, which is not necessary because GCC is part of our any tendering. In fact, normally we write simply one line. GCC of latest version, so and so version with all the corrigendum आर एप्लीकेबल फॉर दिस टेंडर। आप एक बार ये वो लाइन जोड़ दिए तो आपको जीसीसी का कुछ भी लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है। इनफैक्ट इफ यू लुक एट ऑल दिस 8 चैप्टर्स, देयर इज नथिंग रिलेटेड टू जीसीसी, बट इवन आफ्टर दैट इट विल बिकम ऑलमोस्ट 30 और 40 पेजेस। अगर आप इररिलेवेंट चीजें आप इसमें से निकाल दीजिए तब भी आपका 30 पेज आपका बच जाएगा, बट दिस 30 pages will be very, if you are little economical and you are to the point, आप अपना टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट 15 से 20 पेज में बना सकते हैं रियली। No need to copy anything from the GCC. Now let's talk about those relevant part, and it will be very, very detailed. A lot of things that are not part of your tender document will become part of your tender document, to the point, very relevant point, and all those things. Major heading I am going to discuss here. You have got any doubt, I can open the SBD and show you the relevant the provision. Now the first thing is there are 8 chapters, 8 parts. The first thing is notice inviting tender. We all know that is it is also called type sheet, top sheet. इसमें आपका वही contract period हो गया। Validity of tender, it is recommended to be 180 days, right? It could be as per your convenience. You want to short close it, then you want to there is an urgency, then you can go for even 90 days, and so on. Validity, within that you must decide your tender, right? Discharge कर दीजिए, accept कर लीजिए, retender कर दीजिए, that must happen within that. So 180 days is default prescription. Commencement of work जो है 21 days after the issue of LOA. You can have even 10 days also, but 21 days is more because he has to arrange for labor and other those things. The cost of tender document, EMD, right? It is waived for MSE, but other than that it is prescribed there. Eligibility criteria, whether the partnership or joint venture is allowed or not. It is single packet or 2 packet, right? Invariably it has to be 2 packet system as per the recommendation. Then financial standing, right? Turnover 150%. Access to cash or line of credit, that is something new. The contractor should submit a bank statement, a guarantee from the bank, or proof of liquid cash available, the long-term liquid cash, not loan money or anything, available to the contractor at 5% of the contract value for day-to-day expenses. There is a certification that is prescribed here, and how the technical bid will be evaluated, that is part of this. Now instruction to tender, this is very, very detailed. normally we in our normal tender document जो कि SBD पे बेस नहीं है, उसमें ये चीजें थोड़ी सी कम होती हैं. It's very detailed, right? Site visit, whether it is required or not. Site visit, sometimes local site visit is required. Say for example linen management के लिए, where he has to store the things, कितना space दिया हुआ है, किस type का transportation can be arranged. If there are some local condition, then a site visit may be required, right? In the appendix there are total 23 forms. Those are listed here, but actual forms are given in the FOT, forms of tender, right? Now that currency has to be in rupees only. If it is not in rupee, then it has to be prescribed. By default, the currency should be only in the Indian rupee. Tender validity, tender security, that is earnest money. There is a blank space in the NIT chapter 1, but it is described here, right? How the labor will be supplied, what rules has to be followed. There is a standard format for signing of tender, right? The clarification on submission of tender or late or delayed tender. Now one more thing, lot of time you may look at the provisions and you will see ki, acha, it is not online, it has to be done on paper. No. The provisions given in the SBD covers both. अगर आप मैनुअल टेंडरिंग जिसको बोलते हैं, जो टेंडर सील करके और वो जो आपके बॉक्स में ड्रॉप करते थे, it addresses that also. So there are provisions where some of the provisions will not be operational or will not be effective if it is online tendering. So it addresses both, irrespective of it is manual tendering or online tendering. But we know that everything is online nowadays, right? Now we are going for GEM even for the service contract, but that is a different issue. So okay. So in case of late or delayed tender, we know that online it is not even possible, right? So how, after submission, how it can be modified? Or withdrawal of tender. Before closing date, we normally allow the tenderer to withdraw the tender before closing date. After the closing date, that EMD would be forfeited. That is normally the conditions. So those clarification. A checklist, a very, very detailed checklist is given because it is instruction to tenderer. So tenderer has to go through the checklist and tick mark everything. So to ensure that every paper, every document, every requirement has been submitted. Now procedure related to opening and evaluation of tender. It is a description for the tenderer. So tenderer knows how it is going to be done, right? Correction of error. If there is any error, how it is to be corrected. There are some standard guidelines that if there is a error in number, then figures should be in words should be taken. If there is a error in totals or the rate and quantity, then rate and quantity has to be taken, totals has to be recalculated, and so on. So any other error correction can be listed here. How award of contract will be notified? Again, it's an instruction. There are some clarification related to, we simply say that without any reason we can reject all and every tender, and we can cancel the whole tender without giving any reason also. Of course, that never happens. We do it with proper reasoning, but it is one of the conditions that is again instruction to the tenderer. Notification of award, signing of agreement. Normally within 30 days agreement should be signed. Before signing of agreement, PG has to be furnished. Those things are specified here. Performance security, it is PG and SD, clarification on that. If LOA has been issued, then how it can be cancelled? How the bills will be paid, in what duration? It is a monthly on account bill or quarterly or 6 monthly or lump sum, those things. In case the contract has to be terminated, in what conditions it has to be terminated, right? that conditions of termination, the warning letter, the number of days of warning before that termination can be brought into effect. It is in the GCC. You can follow the same thing. The information, if you have your own, you can specify here, right? And the contractor, even being third party, because he's the contractor of railway, he has to adhere to the RTI Act. Railways provide their own information under RTI, and the contractor will have to provide his own if there is such requirement. Now there are appendices. Operational part, basically it is list of chemicals, quantities, how much it is to be used, what are the machines. That is up to you. But there are standard appendixes are available, right? Now comes to the forms of tender. As I said already, there are 23 forms, standard forms, and everything need not be filled. There are some work or contract specific forms are available. If you are looking at OBHS, then some of the forms are not required. If you are looking at linen, then other forms are not required. There are some parts A and B. Actually, listing is only 19, and there are a lot of A and Bs. So these are standard forms. There are 14 or I have to again count it. 14 or 16 appendixes are available. Basically, they are detailed lists. Then penalties. Now coming back to, I was sharing the screen. Somebody has 22 MENHM2. उन्होंने मेरा स्क्रीन को वो कर दिया है. ये कौन है भाई 21 MENHM2? Anybody has logged on as the 22 MENHM2?
This is the IRIMEE establishment, sir.
यार वो मेरे से प्रेजेंटेशन छीन लेते हैं बार बार.
सर वो आपके वहाँ पे बैठे हैं.
Okay. Let me restart again. Say, I already told you, if you have any question, if you are already dealing with SBD, and I am very sure quite a large number of you, if you have any issues related to specific items in SBD, you can just ask. I am just running through what are the things which are discussed in the SBD, how the parts of the tender documents are grouped together. As I said, if you look at the tender document that you are doing 5 years back or 4 years back, if you look at it, a lot of things are mixed together. So there are certain items, they are grouped together under the different parts of the SBD. That what are the things are grouped together that I am talking about. Coming to penalties, now this is one of the things that we are very, very inconsiderate about that. So penalties should be very detailed, exhaustive. You look at your tender execution for last 3 years, 4 years, or even 5 years, and see where the contractor is defaulting, making mistakes. All those things should be addressed in the penalty. A lot of time it happens, and it will be the case with most of the controlling officer. It was the case with me also while in open line. When the contractor makes some mistake, and then we are searching under which penalty clause it is covered, and we find that it is not covered at all. How to impose penalty? So if you go through all these things and contractors' mistakes, and then create penalty clauses which are exhaustive and prohibitive. When I say prohibitive, means the penalty should be severe. Say, for example, I'm just giving you an example. The contractor is supposed to use, say, automatic some cleaning machine, right, on the platform. वो मशीन है, कर्शर का आता है, there are roots का आता है, कर्शर का आता है, there are other machines where you mop the floor and also pull out all the wet. अगर floor को आप wet mopping कर रहे हैं, so it mops and sucks out all the water also from the floor, right, and wipes it after that. It's a combined machine. Now this machine is quite costly. A good manufacturer machine may cost contractor anywhere between 3 to 7 lakh rupees. A good machine, good size, good capability, right? So a lot of time contractor, what he does, he gets a very, very inferior machine, right? From some local brand, locally manufactured, locally assembled kind of thing. And these machines keeps breaking down. So rather than spending 5 lakh rupees on this machine, the contractor can arrange this machine for 50,000 rupees, which for most part will not be operational. And if you look at the penalty, then not using machine will be something like, 100 rupees per day. The contractor is happy. He saved 5 lakh rupees for the cost of money, and every day what he is paying is 100 rupees. For a month, how much? Right? 3,000 rupees. In a month, 36,000 rupees in a year. अगर daily वो penalty भी pay करता है, तो he is going to pay 36,000 rupees for the year. Now the contractor can save money by simply paying the penalty. Now the penalty should be prohibitive in a sense. If he doesn't use the machine, then he may lose the 10% cost of the machine every month. That kind of thing. So it should be something like 5,000 rupees per day. Right? And then the contractor cannot afford not to have that machine. He will get that machine. Rest assured about that if he start losing money of that kind. So the penalty should be prohibitive, means that contractor should not be able to save money by paying the penalty. He should lose money and several times over. So the penalty should be just that, a prohibitive kind. And then you should have penal clauses for any mistake that you know in your experience. As I said, we are still smarting out. So over the period, based on our own experience, we know what are the common mistakes that contractor do, defaults, and have everything covered under the penal provisions. So that should be my recommendation. It is not discussed as much in detail in the SBD. This is my recommendation. Okay. Now indemnity bond, वो हमारा चीज को खराब कर देगा, कुछ करेगा, तो उसका हम कैसे उसको फाइन करेंगे? Indemnity. Then his obligation to statutory compliance. We know that there are 21 of them. The contractor will have to state that how he is going to comply with them. Then bank reference for liquidity 5% we discussed already. Then work experience, financial data, works in hand. These are forms. All these are required, so contractor will have to fill up and submit along with the standard document. Then finally there is another checklist here for technical and financial submission, that everything is submitting or not. Now we'll come to SCC, special condition of contract. What is SCC? SCC is basically everything that is not in GCC, right? Now GCC contains, for most part, everything related, but anything related to technical specification, the safety, the efficiency figures, right? The effectiveness, downtime, all of those things, any of those things, which can be a condition, which is not generic in nature, which is specific, which is technical, all become part of special condition. These are the conditions which are not part of GCC. Okay, coordination, how he is going to hand over the contract, how he is going to take over the contract, right? Sufficiency of tender, no link, everything should be part of that. The access route, normally we provide our railway route, railway RAND, railway storage for OBHS, pest and rodent control, for linen management and so on. But we have right? But we provide contractor that, those things, how it will be monitored, right? And penalty and reward. Okay, reward is, the accounts will never agree. Basically, if the contractor, his score goes beyond 95%, every month the 5% reward can be given, additional money. Theoretically, contractor can perform very well every year. That means every month he is likely to get 5% reward, additional money. That means it should be part of our budget. It should be part of our estimate itself. That doesn't happen, but anyhow that provision is here. You may or may not keep it in your own tender document. performance bonus, basically that is. Performance penalty, it is already available. Now monitoring, how we are going to give the performance monitoring based on the attendance, cleanliness which is recorded, the use of consumables and machines, distribution of linen. As I said, when you are talking about OBHS, then it will not, where this 10% will go, it will go into others proportionately, right? Surprise visit, it is not mandated, but still surprise visits would form the part of this monitoring. And passenger feedback is the highest. We still have that. So the passenger feedback and complaints, this is 30% of the total performance monitor. Now, what are the other special conditions? Protection to the environment, right? How the electricity, water or gas will be supplied, used by the contractor, paid to the railway and so on, right? Use and supply both of material, tools and equipment. Security of the site, if contractor makes any, contractor causes any damage to the railway, the penal provision to the extent of rupees 50,000 is prescribed. It's quite steep, up to, that means it could be less than that also, right? The deployment of labor. Now that part can be modified now based on outcome basis. You don't specify the number of labor, but you can specify the general direction. How the labor will be deployed, how they will go through, how they will work on the area where our people are working on the pit line, on the catwalk, in your depot premises, around the railway equipment, electrical tools and machinery, all those things can be prescribed. Now, all the tender conditions should be inclusive of, the cost should be inclusive of all duties, taxes, royalty, nothing should be extra, right? If any tax is to be paid, it has to be paid by the contractor, or royalties or etc. It should be part of his the quoted price, inclusive of that. That is again, it's just a clarification under the special conditions. Price variation clause, PVC. Now you are going to give contract for 4 years. In 4 years, lot can change. The cost of man, machine, material, the fuel, everything can change. So there is a provision of price variation. So based on some index, how the price variation will be calculated. Advance against machinery. If new machineries are purchased and it is already under the control of railway, it is within the railway premises, the contractor can draw advance against the cost of machine. It is only for the new machines. It was not there earlier, of course, right? Now on account payment, whether it will be monthly payment or quarterly payment, it is on account billing basically. At what frequency, in what currency, and so on. It has been prescribed here, right? Tax deduction at source. We normally it is income tax deduction of 2% at source is done. Again, that has to be specified here. So the contractor should not have any confusion. Contractor's care of works, if it is we are handing over any tools, material, those things. In that case, how it will be safeguarded by the contractor, that needs to be specified here. Insurance, that is employees state insurance, basically it is for the contractor employees, right? Notices and instruction, anything else that goes here as an instruction to the contractor, that is part of SCC again. Now comes the ER, employer's requirement. Anything that is to be monitored by us, by the controlling officer, by the supervisors on behalf of controlling officer or the contract execution authority. What are the things that, anything that needs to be inspected, anything that needs to be monitored, anything that needs to be insured, everything has to be recorded and inspected. That is employer's requirement. Anything that is to do with the safety, anything that is to do with the following the timelines, कि जब स्टेशन खाली होगा तभी सफाई होगा, right? That kind of thing. So all the things that we need to check, record, ensure, supervise, that comes here, right? Whether it is related to quantity, related to quality, cleaning material, detergent, right? Equipment, number of times the job is done, and records thereafter. That is it is employer's requirement, our conditions. Now qualification of the contractor staff. Now we are actually our class was supposed to end at 11:15, only 5 more minutes. As we started, almost 20 minutes late because everybody had not joined. So we are, going that at least 15 minutes extra we are going. Next class we will request them to give a 10 minutes break and then continue. But this just it is going to chapter 7 has got almost nothing. Chapter 7 and 8 are almost technical. So we are looking at chapter 5 and 6 only for most part. 5 more minutes, I'll come to an end, right? So employer's requirement is our requirement: record, checking, ensuring, supervision, and so on. That also includes the qualification of EHK and basically diploma in engineering or IIHM. It is diploma part actually, not IIHM graduate. That is it is my mistake. I should have put one comma here. Diploma in engineering or IIHM or graduate in any field. That should be the EHK's experience, right? Experience 6 to 3 years. And deployment of the people in OBHS. Now this thing should be work based. Now you know that the manpower you cannot count, but manpower you have to take into account for arriving at a cost at the estimate stage, right? Communication facility, there is some requirement that all the EHK must be given mobile phone. They should be in touch with the depot authorities and so on, right? Cleaning procedure. Now we are supposed to provide cleaning. The contractor is supposed to propose a cleaning procedure. You know that there is a lot of confusion in this कि भाई floor पहले साफ होगा कि छत पहले साफ होगा कि berth पहले साफ होगा. You look at the toilet, then first wash basin has to be cleaned, or dustbin has to be emptied, or toilet has to be cleaned, or the panels have to be mopped with soap water. And which thing has to be done first, which thing has to be done second, which thing has to be done third, and so on. There has to be sequence of work. So wherever you can see very good quality, there these things are prescribed in detail. What needs to be done and what sequence it needs to be done. Now, as per the SBD requirement also, the contractor has to propose a particular sequence of operations for doing any activity. If he doesn't, then we will give, and it will be binding on the contractor. We need not keep it as detailed procedure in the SBD. We just specify that contractor will have to propose. If contractor doesn't proposes, then we will specify and it will be binding on the contractor. Khatam kissa. Now, in case of accidents, how to prevent that? Safety signages. If they are climbing the coach, then what are the precautions they have to take? What are the PPE has to be used? Personal protective equipment and apparatus they have to use for work, that has to be prescribed here. Okay. Now, consumer uniform, name badges, hygiene. The people travel 5 days in a long distance train. They become so dirty. Then our passengers don't like to talk to people. Why? Because they appear so dirty. They should appear business-like. They should be clean. They should maintain personal hygiene. They should carry a spare uniform set while going on OBHS and so on. So these things can be mandated here. That can be a part of the tender document itself. It's condition, right? Soft skills are part of that, right? For soft skills, they must have some training, right? Of course, you may not get that. You can try, but this BICS is British Institute of Cleaning Sciences, or Pradhan Mantri Kausal Yojana, and so on. They should have been trained. PMKY you can get lot. Pradhan Mantri Kausal Yojana, a lot of private parties have been engaged for providing certification under PMKY Yojana. You will get people on that. So this is training of the OBHS staff. How much training is required, minimum requirement. That is again our requirement. Uniform and personal hygiene we have already discussed. Code of conduct, how they have to behave themselves. It is continuing. It is quite elaborate. If you are already not working on SBD, then you know in our earlier tender document it was lacking a lot. So these things are covered in a quite detailed manner, right? Maintenance of statutory registers. There are some statutory, that is for labor enforcement officers, right? As per LEO, there are some mandated registers are required of every contractual workforce. Employment, muster, wages, deduction, जो कुछ होता है ये सब it should be recorded, signed, countersigned, so it can be verified by the labor enforcement department and their officials. So this is statutory registers. Following of statutory labor laws, making our own staff and the contractual staff aware about statutory labor laws, awareness classes, etc. In fact, there should be a register where they should sign ki bhai they are aware about their own rights under the statutory labor laws. The provision of wage slip, what they are getting. If it is online, still there can be a computer printed wage slip. The payment of overtime and the payment of wages through bank transfer. So these are our last part is a specification. As I said, 7 and 8 are quite technical. We will not go into that. It is only as of that क्या बोलते हैं, specifications are available in the 8th chapter. So scope of work, right? For NCC, OBHS and allied service, we are not going there. Bill of quantity is nothing listing of, it is basically your estimate part. We are not going there. So the last part is specification. So we are coming to an end. These specifications are for most part technical specification and the quality of work. If any way you can derive ki how you can ensure whether the floor is cleaned enough, where the staircase is dust free. So ensure that the cleaning work has been done properly. It is qualitative. It is qualitative and very difficult to achieve that. There are some standard guidelines are provided. When you touch the surface, how much dust you see. Now the cleaning activity, it is a product that is consumed immediately. So you don't have final check in that. As soon as the floor is cleaned, people walk over that and then floor become dirty again. So how do you know the floor was originally cleaned? So basically all the checks you have on the way it is being cleaned. So you monitor when it is being cleaned, right? So all those things, because it is qualitative, every contract has to be decided separately what qualitative checks you can have when the work is being done. Because cleaning is a product that is consumed immediately, as I keep on telling that, we must monitor when it is being cleaned at that time. So proper supervision should be there. So that specification, how it is to be ensured, we can put here. Do's and don'ts. What are the standard things that must the contractor do? What are the things which are absolute no-no? The clear cut gauge, it's like go gauge, no go gauge kind of thing, that anything you can come across, you can be listed here. Then cleaning around safety, electrical, traction, signal equipment, machinery, because they are prone to tampering or they can cause bodily harm. So unless the contractor staff is properly trained, they are trained in those areas, they must not clean these areas unsupervised. So if they are not trained in safety of electrical equipment, then our person should stand guard there. Supervisor, staff, even Khalasi helper. So if he is going to clean around bus bar or the main electrical switches, circuit breakers, then our person must be available there during the cleaning activity to see that nothing wrong is done by the, or if the contractor's employer is trained, properly trained, certified in this area, then the work can be unsupervised also. Right? Machinery and their specification. As I said, it is mostly technical specification that goes here. So anything related to height, width, the scrubber that goes under the seat, right? The portable equipment that are man portable, it should not be 100 kg that cannot be carried by the people. So all any of those criteria that becomes part of a specification under chapter 6. So we come to the end. Any question? I think it was slightly dry. The second half was slightly dry. But as I said, whatever is not applicable from the SBD, you can just cut out. It is available in the soft copy, so it is very easy to cut out, right? The second thing is that it is different grouping than whatever tender document you have made so far, because every depot to depot and division to division tender document changes. There is a certain logical grouping in chapter wise under the SBD, and we are required to follow that. And based on actually SBD and GCC, they are intertwined. They are quite related to each other. If you are simply going by SBD, you are already taking care of most of the things that are in GCC in any case. So that was about the SBD. And any question finally? Anybody? I hope you are already implemented. You look at it with new light now and try to improve it further. We need to improve it, our own tender document. For every successive tendering, our competency with the tender document, the quality of our tender document must improve. The SBD is a step towards that. Okay, so thank you everyone. I am waiting for question.
How the volume of work can be calculated in this
volume of work.
How the volume in outcome based contract.
Now wherever there was a manpower, now you have to outcome based. That is a different matter. But of course, it is very relevant to the subject that we have here. The outcome based tendering, in that you don't mention any manpower, you only mention the content and the measurement. So the measurement is most important. अभी तक ये होता था कि आप 4 आदमी लगाना है mopping के लिए. I'm just giving an example. Now you have to specify these many square meter area must be swept and mopped, right? And then you specify the quality of during mop. The mop and sweep of so and so quality is to be used. After the completion of mopping, right, the area should be dust free, or if rubbed against the area, the hand should not get any visible dirt. That kind of thing you can specify. Now you are doing away with the number of manpower. There is no manpower specified. It can be done by 1 person or 2 person or 10 person. What you are specifying is the work and the quantity and the quality. Now there is a lot of work required in that. How to specify your bill of quantity in that. BOQ has to be completely changed. Like for example, OBHS. You are specifying manpower. Now you have to specify that what area that needs to be attended by the EHK or the housekeeper in the coach. Right? You don't specify the number of manpower. Or you go for mechanized coach cleaning, you specify the quantity of the work and actual number amount of the work in these many hours it has to be completed. This many berth, this many square meter of the interior of the coach, this many square meter of the exterior of the coach, these many total coaches. This is the sequence of the work in the toilet area. This much cleaning has to be done. Don't specify manpower at all. So that the whole quantity and quality needs to be reworked. It's a big ask. It is a big task. But if you are doing work study, then you already have most of the material ready for that, I think. Isn't it?
But if it is a cleaning contract of a diesel shed, then how the volume work and how much for how much amount this contract value?
You are already specifying in your work study. See how you arrived at the existing contract कि भाई आप contractor को 60 आदमी provide करना है, 60 man has to be provided by the contractor, and what these people will be employed in for dust picking, the garbage picking, scraping of the floor, mopping, sweeping, emptying of dustbin, cleaning of your office, right? Emptying dustbin there, all those things, cleaning up. See, locomotive cleaning will be separate contract. I hope you are talking about that the floor and walkway and depot and office cleaning activity. Now, rather than specifying manpower that you have been specifying so far कि 50 आदमी देगा या 60 आदमी देगा contractor, now you specify square meter of the area that needs to be scrapped, number of dustbin that needs to be emptied daily, the square meter of the office premises that needs to be swept or mopped. You also have the quality of the mop of so and so brand, or the quality of the sweep of so and so brand, the quantity of the detergent that he must use, the quantity of the the air freshener he must use every day. Now you are going for the material and the work area and a square meter and number of brooms and mops. Nowhere you are specifying manpower. You don't say 60 people, but the contractor, unless he supplies 60 people, he will not be able to do the job.
Okay.
There is a lot of work. I agree. Now suddenly the light will be, switching on in your brain. How to do that? You have to do that. It is one-time activity, and lot of that has already been done. From where you arrived at 58 people or 60 people? By looking at the work content कि इतना काम करना है तो 50 आदमी या 55 आदमी या 60 आदमी चाहिए, है ना? So you already have estimated your work. Now you have to go purely by that estimation without prescribing the actual manpower.
Okay, sir.
It's a little ask. It is a little, थोड़ा काम तो करना पड़ेगा भाई, अब क्या करें उसमें.
ठीक.
Any other question, please?
Sir, this as of now, whatever SBD we have,
Yeah.
now we are doing on the manpower basis. Now in the future, it is going for the outcome basis. Then SBD has to be going to be updated.
No, bill of quantity, only BOQ.
So SBD will be remain same.
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at SBD, there is nowhere manpower prescribed other than BOQ. There is and again it says कि whatever is not applicable, you can change that to your requirement.
SBD.
Bill of quantity, BOQ,
Okay.
chapter 7 needs
Yes,
to
sir.
be reworked.
Okay.
Anything else? So thank you everyone. Yeah, any question you can ask, please.
तो मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था, ये इसमें पेनल्टी क्लॉज भी दिए रहते हैं.
Penal clauses, there are some guidelines. Say for example, damage to the railway property, right? In that, the penalty is up to 50,000 rupees has been specified. It is quite steep, up to, right? And in case of surprise check, 10,000 rupees and 15,000 rupees surprise check penalty in one place, 5,000 rupees also has been prescribed if you actually look at it. Yes, you can devise your own, as I already told you and recommended. You have to little work on that. The penal provision should be prohibitive and exhaustive, not 2 or 3 numbers. You look at whatever the faults that or the mistake contractor has been making, list them all out, and then think about what should be the prohibitive penal provision for that and list it out. राइट उसके लिए थोड़ा नहीं तो कई बार ये होता है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर गड़बड़ करता है, फिर आप ढूंढते रहते हैं कि इसका पेनल्टी कहाँ लगाएं, क्या लिखा है, कहाँ लिखा है। भाई आप अपनी तरफ से 10 पेनल प्रोविजन प्रोवाइड करना चाहते हैं अपने ओन टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट में, यू कैन, नोबडी इज स्टॉपिंग यू, बट उसके लिए थोड़ा सा आपको एक लिस्ट आउट करना पड़ेगा। And now we are becoming, smarter and smarter, more experienced, should I say, smarter. We are already smart, right? So we are becoming more experienced. So based on our own experience, we can make our tender document little more descriptive, and that includes penal provision also.
सर अभी 3 दिन पहले मेरे पास एक केस आया ऐसा, जिसमें कि जैसे एक पर्टिकुलर एक शॉप है, उसका एरिया है 3000 और स्क्वायर फीट।
हाँ,
तो उसको क्लीनिंग करना, स्वीपिंग करना है।
या 1000 स्क्वायर फीट रफली। ओके
जी, तो उस शॉप के इंचार्ज ने क्या किया है, उसमें 60% केवल दिखाया कि 60% वर्क डन इन ए 1 मंथ।
ओके,
तो अब मैं इसको किस तरीके से उसमें
how he has
पेनल्टी
recorded 60% work has been done, how, what is the, see, anything that needs to be bill में से जब आप काटेंगे, you must be able to show on record. एक जगह एक लाइन लिख करके साइन कर दिया, दिस इज नॉट द रिकॉर्ड। क्या उसको दिमाग में रखा हुआ था कि 60% ही काम हुआ है या 80% हुआ है? हैज इट बीन रिकॉर्डेड ऑन डेली बेसिस कि भाई आपके शॉप फ्लोर में मान लीजिए आपका 370 स्क्वायर मीटर है, 370 स्क्वायर मीटर में से 300 स्क्वायर मीटर साफ किया और 70 स्क्वायर मीटर वो कोचेस के नीचे वाला एरिया या पिट वाला एरिया या मशीन के आजू बाजू वाला एरिया छोड़ दिया। Has it been recorded on daily basis? If it is recorded on daily basis, then that's all. उतना डिडक्शन करके ही पेमेंट करना है, क्योंकि नहीं किया। लेकिन if it is not recorded on daily basis and the contractor goes to arbitration, then you are going to lose that. Simply नहीं किया करके साइन करने से नहीं चलेगा. It has to be recorded on daily basis. What kind of recording mechanism you have? उसमें आप थोड़ा देखिए ना, उसके हिसाब से अगर नहीं किया है तो काटिए और सिंपली लिख देने से कि भाई 70% किया है। व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय 70%?
सर प्लीज सर, मैं यही तो जानना चाह रहा हूँ कि 3000 स्क्वायर फीट एरिया है और उसने 60% शो किया है, 60% क्लीन किया गया है। अब इसका बिल अगर मान लो पेमेंट किया जाएगा तो वो उस पे पेनल्टी कॉज क्या होंगे सर?
नहीं, लेट मी क्लेरिफाई वन मोर थिंग, आई विल कम बैक टू योर क्वेश्चन। There is a deduction from the bill for not having the work, having the work done, right? भाई आपका काम था, नहीं किया, और उसको आप डिडक्ट कर रहे हैं, दिस इज नॉट पेनल्टी। पेनल प्रोविजन इज पनिटिव मेजरमेंट, पनिटिव मेजर। भाई काम नहीं किया, आपने काट लिया, ये पेनल्टी नहीं है, इट इज डिडक्शन and it is not counted towards penalty. वो भी है कि maximum penalty should not increase 10% एक जगह है, 16% another जगह है। This is not deduction from the bill. काम नहीं किया, आप डिडक्ट कर रहे हो तो ठीक है। तो अगर आपने ऑलरेडी रिकॉर्ड किया हुआ है ये कि इतना ही काम हुआ, इतना नहीं हुआ, आप वेरी वेल यू डिडक्ट इट। इट इज नॉट ए पेनल्टी, इट इज ए प्रोपोर्शनल डिडक्शन।
ठीक,
राइट? पेनल्टी इज पनिटिव मेजर। जब आप सरप्राइज चेक करने के लिए गए, अब मशीन 4 उसका काम करना था और 3 ही आपको वर्किंग मिला, एक मशीन काम करता हुआ नहीं मिला। नाउ यू आर वर्क डन इज डिफरेंट थिंग। नाउ यू आर इम्पोजिंग पेनल्टी कि आपका 4 मशीन ऑपरेशन रहना चाहिए, एक नहीं मिला, मैं आपके ऊपर 15,000 रुपया पेनल्टी लगाता हूं। बट दिस पेनल्टी मस्ट बी एड्रेस समवेयर। यू कैनॉट आर्बिट्रेरली अप्लाई द पेनल्टी, अदरवाइज इन आर्बिट्रेशन में जाकर के इट विल बिकम बिग, गले की हड्डी बन जाएगी। ठीक है? तो आप आर्बिट्रेरली कोई पेनल्टी नहीं लगा सकते। ऑल पेनल प्रोविजन मस्ट बी लिस्टेड आउट। दैट इज व्हाई आई से कि वी आवर ओन टेंडरिंग शुड बिकम बेटर एंड बेटर। सो हमारा इतना एक्सपीरियंस हो गया है कि हम अपना पुराना देख करके पेनल प्रोविजंस को ऑलरेडी लिस्ट कर दिए। अरे आप लिख दीजिए ना 30-35 आइटम जो जिसमें पेनल्टी लगाई जा सकती है, लिख के रखिए उसमें इतना पेनल्टी। बट दिस इज पेनल प्रोविजन, डिडक्शन फ्रॉम द बिल फॉर नॉट हैविंग द वर्क डन विल बी प्रोपोर्शनल। वो तो सीधा सीधा है, उसमें तो कोई ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं कर सकता, प्रोवाइडेड यू हैव रिकॉर्ड्स टू शो दैट कि हाँ इतना ही काम हुआ है, इतना नहीं हुआ है, आई एम डिडक्टिंग दिस मच प्रोपोर्शनेटली। वो तो इजी पार्ट है, वो तो सीधा सीधा आप मेजरमेंट बुक में ही आप उसको लिख करके उसको डिडक्ट कर लीजिए, मनी कम हो गया, खत्म किस्सा।
जी
ओके
थैंक यू सर।
ओके जी, धन्यवाद। हम लोगों ने काफी समय ले लिया है। कैन आई आस्क नेक्स्ट फैकल्टी इज अवेलेबल ऑनलाइन? मे आई क्वेश्चन, मे आई आस्क, कोई है?
यस सर, आई एम अवेलेबल सर।
कौन? देवेंद्र आप ले रहे हैं क्या?
जी
ओके ओके, सॉरी थोड़ा हमारा लेट चालू हुआ था, थोड़ा सा लेट हो गया है, तो मैं शेयरिंग बंद कर रहा हूँ। और ये रिकॉर्डिंग चल रहा था सेशन का, वो रिकॉर्डिंग में चलने दो देवेंद्र।
अभी इसको बंद कर देते हैं सर, उनको 15 मिनट्स ब्रेक दे देते हैं, उसके बाद।
हाँ इनको ब्रेक दे देते हैं, आप रिकॉर्डिंग दोबारा चला लेंगे?
जी
ओके ओके, धन्यवाद। सो थैंक यू एवरीवन। बट आई हैव ए मेरा मेरा एक शिकायत है आप सबसे, थोड़ा सा इंटरेक्शन कम रहा हमारे यहाँ। जो है नॉर्मली इसमें ओपन लाइन वाले ही आते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स एंड